Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I want to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have David Nguyen on the line, and he is founder over at My Consulting Offer. Davis, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Adam.
All right, Davis. So I'm excited to talk about My Consulting Offer, so your company, and also talk about, a lot of people out there that maybe they want to be management consultants, and that's exactly what you're helping people do. And I mean, you're an expert at, so we'll do a deep dive into that. And just to get us started, I'll start with our signature question. So, Davis, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Davis, what mission matters to you?
For me, the mission that matters is how do you leave the world a better place than the one you came into it? I've always felt myself to be very fortunate to have the situation I am and grateful for I have. My family, my grandparents immigrated from Vietnam to the U.S., but before that, you have to imagine all the factors that had to come. So my grandparents grew up and raised my family, my mom, during the Vietnam War. So not only did they survive a war, survive a famine, but during the time of traveling, they actually took boats to escape Vietnam to the various countries before actually going to the U.S. So they were part of the boat people's migration. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's estimated about 5 to 10 million people during this time from Vietnam who tried to escape Vietnam by boat. So you can imagine like this fishing boat trying to go across the Pacific Ocean. And people estimate that roughly about 10% of people survive. And to have my grandparents, my mom survive, as well as the rest of my family, eventually my mom meeting my dad and everything, the chance of that happening was just so slim. Surviving a war, surviving a famine, and coming over here and surviving the trek to America. And I was being given so much. Like, even though in the U.S., we actually grew up in one of the poorest communities in the United States, my grandma always reminded me how grateful we are, is that, David, you might feel like we're in an area where the crime rate's high, there are break-ins, there's a lot of crimes, but this is better than being a child soldier growing up in Vietnam, where she had witnessed people being drafted into the military and forced to fight. And so my grandma always reminded me of that I was given so much, and yet I couldn't see it at the time. But it wasn't until when I started growing up and I realized even being in the poorest community, the bottom 1% of the U.S., you still are better off than 99% of the world. So as a result, I made it to my mission from high school. I didn't have money at the time. My family at the time was just they're low-income workers, they're service workers, they're cleaning the floors. But I said, I want to make the lives of other people better. And so I do that in multiple ways, besides just donating my time and my money. But even through my consulting offer, what we do is that we help people get their dream jobs in consulting. But not only that, but once somebody gets a job in consulting, a large portion of the fees that they actually pay to work with us, we actually donate to and give to nonprofits that we believe are advancing our mission, which are helping people. So building schools in rural villages, providing water to places, giving girls access to education and so forth. And these opportunities of people who might not even know what management consulting is or what my consulting offer does, I still believe that even though they cannot see you, you're still making an impact. So not only do we help someone get a dream job in consulting, but we also help lives of other people get an education and create opportunities for themselves, similar to the ones that I imagine my grandma wish she would have had growing up in Vietnam.
Wow, what an amazing story and what a testament. I love when somebody is, recognizes the people that went before us and pays tribute and homage to those that made all this stuff possible, right? Because it's not, everybody has different stories, different backgrounds, but like nobody's doing or living this life on their own. So I love it and thank you for sharing that. And I want to go into my consulting offer. So you touched on it briefly, but let's do a deeper dive. So tell us a little bit more about your business and why you started it.
Yeah, so very simple. What we do is we help aspiring consultants get jobs at the top management consulting firms or the consulting firm of their dreams. So it could be a McKinsey, a Deloitte, a Boston Consulting Group, and so forth. And we've been pretty good at it. And so that's basically what we do. We help people get interviews, and then we help them pass the interviews. But how my consulting offer started was it actually started as a side business for me. So back after I graduated university, I went to work at Bain & Company, which is one of the big three in management consulting. And then afterwards, I left to join an education company. Since, as you know, it relates back to my mission of empowering people and helping. But I was doing an education company that had two things going. One, we weren't profitable. And second, we were living in California. So you can imagine I took a 40% pay cut working from management consulting to go work at this company that was losing money, and we weren't sure how long it would last, as well as paying California cost of living, California taxes. But during this time, one of my family members had a medical emergency and racked up about $20,000 in medical bills that I needed to help pay off. And so I couldn't pay that with the salary I was getting from the education company and didn't have enough savings at the time to do it. So I started a weekend business. At Bain, I just loved helping people get their dream jobs and helping people get into Bain and other consulting firms. So I decided, well, how about I started doing this business? And so at the time, I contributed to Reddit a lot. And once I announced I was leaving Bain, people started reaching out to me on Reddit and just saying, "Hey, David," or at the time they didn't know David, they used my username, but they basically just said, "Hey, why are you offering coaching?" And I was like, "Well, let's give it a try. I've never tried it, but let's do it." And so I started accepting my first clients and my first students, and then all of them landed jobs in management consulting. And I was like, "Oh, this thing is
amazing!
Really fun."
You must have been like, "Wow, this is amazing! Like, what? You got the job? You did this? I mean, it's not easy to do what you're doing. Just to be clear, like, you're not saying any management consulting. Like, you're going for the top. Like, that's hard."
It is. It's like there's a 1% overall percentage if you applied online of getting a job or getting an interview and finally passing the interview to get the offer. So we've been able to beat that 1% by currently right now it's about 85% success rate. But yeah, it was, I loved it. And then eventually paid off the medical bill. And a year later decided I wanted to go this full time because I really enjoyed what I was doing.
So what exactly is the process to get a job in management consulting? Like, what does that look like?
So I'll make it sound easy, but if it's okay with you, Adam, I'll include a in-depth link so people can find out the process so they can see how hard it is in resumes. But I'll make it sound easy if that's okay.
Go for it.
So very simple, like any job, there's just two things you need to do. You need to first get the interview, and then you need to pass the interview. But what makes it hard is that you're applying against hundreds of thousands of other applicants for these dream jobs in management consulting. So out of every application, they'll choose to interview roughly, depending on the firm, let's say 10 to 20 of those applicants out of every 100. And then from the interview process, they'll take the 10 to 20 and then offer maybe 1 to 3 people on average, depending on the firm. And that's what makes it hard to pass the process is you have to get the interview and show that you have potential to be a consultant. So they don't look for people who have consulting backgrounds, but you need to show potential. And then to pass the interview, you have to go through something called the case interview, which is they give you an ambiguous problem. Like, for example, Adam Torres wants to be able to scale his podcast viewership and subscription 10x in the next 3 months. How does he do it? And then they give you the time to figure out a strategy to do it, but you don't know what the prompt will be going in. So you have to be prepared and have to be able to reason your way through the problem and whatever situation you'll have. So again, I'll include an example at the bottom of the show notes, and they can see how I think it's fun, a fun process. So anyone who works with us, they might be scared to get a problem like that, but eventually they come to love it and love the problem solving. Because if you love problem solving, especially solving business problems, consulting is probably the career path for you.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So that being said, what do you think is like one of the best marketing strategies for aspiring consultants to get out there? Like what's some of the marketing strategies you use?
Yeah, so at least for our company, when it comes to marketing to aspiring consultants, I think the best, like if I had to start my business all over again from day one and I can only keep one asset, like for example, let's say you can only keep your YouTube channel or whatever it is, the thing that I would actually choose is our reviews, our video reviews. So we actually have hundreds of video reviews of people who've successfully gone through the process and actually went on, not just left like a text saying, oh, my consulting offer was the reason I got my offer, but literally they're putting themselves on camera for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is, and they're actually saying how amazing our product is. Because I think the best marketing is actually just creating results, because word of mouth is the best type of review. So from the very first reviews I had on Reddit, it was just decided the cohort, I just said, hey, why don't you leave me a video review? And so today we have a whole wall full of them, and I think that is like probably the thing that differentiates us from everything else. Is just, you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to look at our emails. You don't have to look at what I say, but just look at other people who use our services and our products and see what they say.
Hi. So I think there's an art to doing that. Like, because I hear what you're saying, and it's not the easiest thing to do. Like, and that can be, by the way, for many different types of businesses. And I feel like very few people do it. And it seems simple. It sounds simple, but like, what's the secret? Like, how'd you get hundreds? I agree with the success part, by the way, if you're doing good work. So let's start with the preface that, like, you know, people are doing good work. So you're doing good work. You got a good product, and you're happy. Like, how do you get those reviews?
So I also like to simplify things. So we do it in 3 ways. One is, you already mentioned it, Adam, is that you have to get them the result right. So it's kind of like no one's going to leave you a 5-star review on a cookbook if your cookbook didn't get the recipe they wanted, right? So the same thing. You have to get them the offer in consulting. So that's the first thing you have to do. And second is we make the ask. We ask them if, and you know, it's funny enough, even though we have hundreds of videos, most people actually turn us down for the video because they're camera shy or so forth, and they ask, can I leave like a text review? And for us, I think video review is the best, because you can't fake that stuff versus like a text I can edit it and so forth. But video review is what it is. So the second step is just to ask. And the third is we make it super easy for them. So we go in, and if they feel comfortable having it as a one-on-one conversation, one of my team members or I will just go in and we'll just have a chat and record the chat with their permission, and then we turn it into the video. And other times they're like, hey, David, we have one of my videos that actually performs really well, testimonial. She's literally on a train. And so she's on a train, and there's like so much background. She's like, hey, David, this is the only time I'm free right now, but I'd love to leave you a review. And people don't mind the train noises in the back because it's just authentic that she's just recording.
Yeah,
so we've had people
it's even better to have
different Javas. Exactly. We've had people recorded everywhere. We had one person, unfortunately the audio was pretty bad, so we couldn't do it. She was actually climbing. She was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro as her congratulations before she started. She's like, hey, record a video, and then the wind just basically killed, and just the atmosphere just killed the audio, but hey, I love the intention. So we make it super easy for them. We don't have to say, you don't have to get a professional setup or anything.
Man, that is so huge, and that's such big time. And for everybody listening, first off, you recorded it. You handled the audio, your team's editing it. I would say that's a huge, huge win, because then you're in control of it. It's easy, it's fast, and it gets done. Because most of the times, like well-meaning clients, they want to do it, but they're busy too. Like, they're not just stopping everything and like, oh, I got to do this, then I got to text them, I got to do this. But if you're on a call with them and be like, hey, and you know it's a great client, and you ask, and they're like, yeah, I'd love to leave you a review, then just record it with their permission, and then it's done. So that's one great part of the process. The second part is the ask. You actually have to ask. Like, when you said that, I'm laughing. And the reason why I'm laughing is because I wanted to pick on myself and on my organization, because, and it's my fault, it's not my team, by the way, is because right now our podcast, we only have, as of today, 11 reviews. And the reason why we don't have reviews is, well, it's twofold. We don't, we've done on all of our shows, we've done over 4,000 episodes. So the reason why is because I never ask for the review, like on podcasts or things like that. But then also, I've never once asked a guest for a review. So we have a campaign that's going to start, I think next month, where we're basically going to, email all the guests and say, hey, if you enjoyed being on the show, or if you listened to it, and even our newsletter, we've sent over a million emails on our newsletter, and we've never once asked for a review. I don't even have a link on the newsletter, so I'm like, wait a minute, we should have thousands of reviews. We have plenty of downloads, and it's like, oh, you got to ask for it. So I know everybody listening, you might not be in the exact same scenario, but if we just start asking, you'd have more reviews than me just from asking, and like in a week you'd have more than 10 reviews. Ask people that listen to your shows or are your clients. So that's why I had to ask that question, Davis, because it hits home, and I had to pick on our processes for that one. And you're killing it on yours, so good job.
Hey, I'll tell you what, you didn't ask me, but I'm going to leave number 12 for you. So send me the link after this, and I will leave you a review.
Too kind. And so that's so funny that you said it, though, because I'm like, oh my gosh, how do we only have 11 reviews? We've never asked, not once. And I never ask on the air, and the shows that do ask, they get, you know what I mean? Like you do have to ask. So it's a great thing. Well, Davis, I have to say, it has been awesome having you on the show today and learning more about your process and what you do. And I know we just scratched the surface on what you do and its importance. And we're definitely going to put that link to your case study and all that stuff in the show notes. So don't worry about that. We'll get that included. So if you're watching this, but that being said, if somebody does want to connect and just follow up in general with you and your team, what's the best way for them to do that?
myconsultingoffer.org. You can find out more about becoming a consultant, and we'll take care of you.
Fantastic. And we'll leave that in the show notes too, definitely. Well, Davis, again, thank you for coming on the show and just sharing more about your background and your inspiring, amazing journey. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based entrepreneurs and businesses coming up for you, and we don't want you to miss a thing. So hit that subscribe. And Davis, thanks again for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, Adam.